Take a look at the live pictures coming in from the USS Gerald R. Ford in Newport News, Virginia. The President Trump, he'll be speaking there just about an hour or so from now. He's meeting with sailors, Marines, shipbuilders, others. We'll have live coverage of that once it begins. In the meantime, there's a huge question in Washington today. Did President Trump's Attorney General mislead the United States Congress about talks with the Russians during the presidential campaign? We now know that the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, met twice with the Russian ambassador last year, something he did not disclose during his confirmation hearings, even under questioning. I want to bring in our panel. Our chief political analyst, Gloria Borger, is with us, our CNN legal analyst, former federal prosecutor Laura Coates, and our CNN global affairs analyst, senior national security correspondent for the Daily Beast, Kimberly Dozier. Gloria, it's an issue of not disclosing right now that's causing a lot of anguish, not just for Democrats, but for plenty of Republicans as well. Listen to some Republicans now suggesting the Attorney General should at least recuse himself from this investigation.
I think the Attorney General should further clarify his testimony, and I do think he should recuse himself.
What about recusing himself?
Absolutely. If there's ever credible evidence of inappropriate campaign contacts between Trump officials and Russia, Jeff Sessions cannot, in my view, make the decision to go forward or not go forward because of his ties to the campaign. That's a no-brainer for me.
He's going to have to answer questions as a witness. So if there's going to be investigations about Russia, then he may actually become a witness, and I don't think he should be leading the investigation.
Well, I've said that whenever it's appropriate, I will recuse myself. There's no doubt about that.
So the issue is not whether or not it was appropriate or authorized for him to meet with the Russian ambassador to the United States. The issue is whether, allegedly, did he commit perjury when he wasn't forthcoming in response to questions during his Senate confirmation hearing.
You remember the old Watergate saw that it's the cover-up, not the crime. And his crime here was, of course, that he didn't disclose to the committee. And look, I think that he has a way out of this. And the obvious way out is to hold a press conference, which I think he's got to do, answer questions, and then recuse himself. And don't forget, this is somebody who, during the whole Hillary Clinton email brouhaha, said that Lynch, then the Attorney General Lynch, ought to recuse herself because she met on an airplane with Bill Clinton, and that a special prosecutor ought to be appointed. So what goes around comes around. This was his solution for that problem, and maybe it should be a solution for his own problem. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it evolves. It seems to me that the easy solution for him, at the very least, is to recuse himself, and I don't think that would be particularly difficult for him to do. You know,
the couple of times when he didn't notify the Senate that he did in fact meet with the Russian ambassador to the United States. We played the exchange he had with Senator Al Franken, in which he said he didn't meet with Russians. There was a written question that Senator Leahy sent to him that was this, and I'll put it up on the screen. Question: several of the president-elect's nominees or senior advisors have Russian ties. Have you been in contact with anyone connected to any part of the Russian government about the 2016 election, either before or after Election Day? Sessions' reply in one word: no. So the question is, and you've studied this, Laura, you're a legal analyst, some are already saying he committed perjury. This was sworn testimony under oath.
Well, and the reason they're saying that is because it walks and smells like perjury at this point. I mean, you have a statement, not only what he said, but what he actually wrote. And the reason this is so important, really, Gloria's right about the way the optics look and how you could kind of get out of it if you were an everyday person or a congressman, perhaps. The problem is semantics is why everyone hates lawyers. You cannot get in a game with semantics about whether or not it was perjury or a misstatement when the fact is you run the Department of Justice. And when you run the Department of Justice, you have an obligation to ensure that people believe in the possibility of objective justice. If you have the leader of the Department of Justice saying that, well, let's play the game of I didn't really remember, I may have had amnesia, prosecutors pounce on this for good reason. And realistically, the reason that recusal will be important here is not only to preserve the credibility of the Department of Justice, but because, listen, I was a career prosecutor. The line attorneys do the bulk of the work, and he would be a figurehead and largely at this. It'd be easy to recuse himself. What's not easy to do is to preserve and maintain the credibility if you have the fox guarding the henhouse.
So should he resign then?
Well, I don't think we're resignation territory yet. I think we don't know we don't fully know the full story. And I do believe that due process is deserved and warranted for even the head of the Department of Justice, particularly for the Department of Justice. But here we have very clear indication that somebody has made a misstatement verbally and in writing. And frankly, this is going to be a domino effect. What else is he not going to be able to oversee for the DOJ? He was a very big part of the campaign, akin to a surrogate and named a surrogate. Will this have a domino effect on anything else coming up in the future? And if that is the case, we've got a very lame duck for a DOJ head.
Kimberly, we're learning a lot more about Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador to the United States. He's been here in Washington for a while. You're doing some reporting on him. What else do we know?
Well, I have to say, when you meet Ambassador Kislyak, you don't forget it. He's an imposing man. He's kind of straight out of Central Casting, has, excellent English, heavy Russian accent, and his public appearances are few and far between. He's held several different posts in the foreign ministry, and as we all know about how the Russian intelligence world works, their diplomats and their intelligence community work very closely together. That's why we had 2 diplomatic compounds shut down by the Obama administration as a way to punish Russia for interfering with the U.S. election. They are deeply linked. So to meet with one is to have contact with the other, and that's why this is so concerning for lawmakers on the Hill.
Yeah, and U.S. intelligence believes he's potentially a top Russian spy and a spy recruiter, in addition to being the top diplomat here in Washington for the government in Moscow. Gloria, people are going back and looking at Sessions' record. He's been in the Senate for a while. He, of course, wanted Loretta Lynch to recuse herself on the after she met with President Clinton on that. After she had that meeting with President Clinton on that plane during the investigations of Hillary Clinton that were ongoing in her email server and all of that. But listen to what he said back in 1999 during the height of the Monica Lewinsky scandal, the impeachment allegations that were going against then President Bill Clinton. Listen to what he said about President Clinton lying under oath. Listen to this.
The president under oath being alleged to have committed perjury. But there are serious allegations that occurred. And in America, and Supreme Court and the American people believe no one is above the law.
So those words are now being replayed as we just did, involving his testimony under oath before the Senate.
Right, as it should be. He is the Attorney General of the United States. And if you take a step back, what we are doing now is parsing the words of the Attorney General, to your point. And it's a very difficult situation for him. And he would have been able to, it's not as if when you testify before Congress, by the way, and you make a mistake, that you can't go back and correct the record afterwards. You take a look at your written testimony, and you were able to amend your written testimony and say, oops, I made a mistake. I actually did have these contacts. That was not done. That might have caused an uproar, but you want to have everything 100% right, so this kind of thing doesn't happen. The question that has to be answered is, why did you not remember this? As you say, this is a man who's kind of hard to forget. Why did you not remember this? If you did remember this, why didn't you tell us? And why not correct the record?
But the statute gives a lifeline to Jeff Sessions, and that is the word intentionally or willfully or voluntarily, whatever word you want to choose to say that he did it on purpose. And really, you kind of imply there's some type of malicious and nefarious intent behind choosing not to say that. So that's a lifeline he may have to extend.
If he would have said to Senator Franken, Senator Leahy, you know what? I did meet with the Russian ambassador in my capacity as a senator, a member of the Armed Services Committee. I have that responsibility, but there was no discussion of any campaign-related information. That would have been a more forthcoming, honest explanation from his perspective, let's say, and it probably wouldn't have derailed potentially his confirmation
He could have
as the
said,
Attorney
this is what
General.
we talked about.
Senators meet with ambassadors all of the time. It was nothing to do with the campaign. It was strictly armed services related business. He didn't say that. That's why he's in deep trouble right now. All right, Gloria, Laura, Kimberly, guys, thanks very much.